Welcome to the Goodvertising Awards Couch Conversations, and I'm extremely lucky to be joined by one of the winners of the Goodvertising Awards 2020. And obviously the Goodvertising Awards, you cannot enter, you are being chosen because you are one of the 10 greatest pieces of work. And the criteria we are looking at is creativity, potential, and impact. But without further ado, I'm really excited to be joined here by Marc from Loop. And Marc is actually one of the earliest employees in Loop working within marketing. So Marc, welcome so much. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Thomas, pleasure to be here.
And congratulations on winning a Goodvertising Award. Probably you hadn't even heard about the award. So what was your response when you heard about the news?
Yeah, to be absolutely frank, I had actually heard, I had seen the name float in the web. So without knowing too much about it, I actually did my research and was quite pleased to see that Loop had been selected amongst a quite diverse array of other successful candidates. You know, it's always great to see that Loop is alongside the MIT Institute in Massachusetts, or companies like Burger King, which is also a partner of Loop. So yeah, fantastic achievement for us, and I want to congratulate all the other winners as well.
Yeah, thank you, Marc. It's definitely one thing that we try to do with the awards is obviously to shine a light on this very kind of changing landscape of what's happening in the impact space. And you know, we've followed Loop for quite some time, and although you know it's still its early phase, there's just so much potential. I think at this time, a lot of people, and there's a lot of conversation in general around packaging and the much needed shift industry needs to take. But maybe for the ones who doesn't know Loop, could you just kind of briefly tell us about what is Loop and what makes you excited about what you're doing at Loop?
Yeah, so Loop is a fairly bold concept. It's a global reuse platform where we help retailers and brands to package and sell products in a reusable format. And similar to the good old milkman model, once a consumer finishes using this product, we collect it, we wash it, and then we refill it to be redistributed once again. So it's really founded on the roots of a more circular, a more sustainable economy. And yeah, we've launched 2 years ago, and proudly are now live in the UK, in France, in the US. And we have exciting launch plans in Canada, actually next week, as well as in other parts of Asia for 2021.
Congratulations, and it's so great to kind of see this milkman idea spread to other territories, which I think also in some ways show that you got something right. Obviously that people are adapting this, and you're finding some interesting partners. You know, often when we talk about these initiatives, and some of them are earlier stage and others have been going on for quite some time, it's never really easy to do any of this stuff. Could you maybe talk about some of the systems, some of the tougher choices that you had to make, or some of the barriers that you met in the beginning?
Well, yeah, let's just say, you know, all of our global and ultra connected economy, the way we consume goods, the way we produce them, and you know, it's all rooted in a linear model. And so trying to change that is immensely difficult. because you are dealing with ultra optimized supply chains and also a lot of consumer behaviors that have been developed over the past 50 years. So what Loop is trying to do is really to be a partner for retailers and brands that are looking to follow this virtuous route, which is a hard one, but with the ability that we have to share best practices from one market to another, from one brand to another, it makes the road much easier for everyone. And then the second thing that we need to do is, of course, work with our consumers, because we need to make sure that the system we develop, the platform we develop, is as convenient as using a single-use packaging, right? So what we're really trying to do is, yes, solve a huge environmental issue around waste, which is, mostly the result of single-use packaging. So solve this issue of waste, but without removing the ease of what a single-use packaging provides, right? So we want to be sustainable, but we also want to be really, really easy to use.
And I think that's been one of the things that I absolutely loved about the concept, which is obviously the convenience aspect of it. That, breaking down some of those barriers, and obviously the fact that you also look at this from both angles, from the average people who actually want to do something about this waste issue, who might feel bad about just this kind of pile of packaging that's there, and then secondly also from the perspective of the industry, that quite a few of those industry players obviously want to move away from the linear model to a more circular model. But how do you at Loop rally that community? I mean, how do you make sure that people take that much needed behavior change, and that you get the industry to understand that, hey, wait a moment, this is actually a viable, easy platform to join?
Yeah, so I think we're really building on the success of our company, TerraCycle. So Loop is a project from TerraCycle, one of the most innovative recycling companies in the world, and has over the past 2 decades built incredibly strong relationships with some of the largest consumer goods companies in the world. And so first, trust with these organizations is what has been key to embark them on this journey. And then from a consumer standpoint, I think it's the way we communicate is really rooted in, I guess, some of our key communication principles, right? So first is we need to be really honest with our consumers, that developing these types of initiatives is going to take time. So it's not going to be perfect from the get-go, but with their support, with them voting with their purchase power, choosing to buy a Loop product, it's helping us to bring this project to the scale it needs to be successful, right? So, being honest, being positive as well, staying away from, the dramatic headlines that you often see on the media. So we really want to stay positive and optimistic, because we think that Loop is a solution, and that we have what it takes to succeed. But the success will only be done if they're on board, and if they tell us the way they want it for themselves, what works for them. And then if we create this really virtuous ecosystem where consumers tell us what they want, we can revert back to our retail, our brand partners, and also we involve really strong logistic partners as well. So for example, on cleaning, our global partners is Ecolab, leading cleaning systems company. We work with other logistic partners such as DHL or UPS. And so what we're trying to do is so disruptive that we really need to make sure we've got everyone on board, and that everyone is aligned on what it's going to take to move from a linear to a circular way of producing and consuming goods.
Yeah, I think, Marc, that those kind of four key things for me is something that I think could inspire a lot of people who's obviously joining this kind of Goodvertising awards couch conversation. This need for honesty, this focus and trust, which I think is pivotal, obviously, when you try to do something that is as bold as you guys are trying to do. Positivity is definitely something that I can recognize. Not so much the doom and gloom, but actually saying this is possible, this is easy, there's convenience, and collaboration, which I think really does show. It's obviously SDG, Sustainable Development Goal number 17. How do we actually shift and how to create systemic change? And I think collaboration. I think Loop is a very great example of a collaborative model. One of the things that I've noticed is as well that, even though you are a pretty early stage still in this journey, you're just expanding to lots of markets. Maybe you could talk just about some of the partners, because when you look at some of the partners who've joined you guys, you can see it's not the little corner store, but you have some pretty interesting brands. Maybe you could just share a bit about that.
Yeah, so among our brand partners, we work with the likes of P&G, Unilever, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Mars Pet Care, etc. And then on the retail side, we also work with Tesco in the UK, Carrefour, Kroger, Walgreens, Aeon in Japan. And I guess that's the traditional supermarket retail space. And, we also explore these reuse models in other industries. So for example, RBI through Tim Hortons and Burger King on a global scale, and also McDonald's in the UK. So I think the reason why we partner with some of these, global ultra recognized organizations, as much as we do with smaller organizations, is that first of all, we want to be an engine for that transition for whichever company believes in its necessity. And we're not here to judge what their motives are, but really to accompany them. So see us a little bit as the circularity enabling chip that a retailer or a brand can put in its system in order to provide this new way of distributing its product to its consumers. And the importance for us to work with these big partners as well as the small ones is these remain the goods that are consumed by most of us. So first of all, if we want to be accessible to all, we need to work with companies such as Coca-Cola or Colgate. If we if we want to make it again accessible to all, we need to have a diversity of retail partners in order for these products to be easy to find, but also easy to return, right? So the vision of Loop, which it's clearly what is happening currently in France, for example, where you can find Loop products in a Loop corner in Carrefour retail stores across Paris. The vision here is that you can buy your Loop products in a Carrefour store, consume them, and then return them in a participating other retailer, such as McDonald's, for example. So the more retailers we bring into the ecosystem, the stronger it is, and the more convenient it makes it as well for our consumers. So yeah, I said that's really the essence of why we need as many partners as possible, why we need to work with some of those large players that I've mentioned.
And I think another thing that's interesting is obviously that PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Unilever, P&G, companies that you'd, you know, classically view as competitors are both kind of joining forces and joining Loop. Why do you think that? Why do you think that is?
You know, I think it's a direct result, especially in Western countries where consumers, you know, have had enough and really want to find more sustainable alternatives to the way they consume their weekly shop, you know, and so I think there is a consensus among large CPG companies that they all need to act, they all need to change, and because obviously it's still a big unknown. I think they could all learn from each other, you know, and I think that's where you know, the conferences such as Sustainable Brands, the work that you're doing as well. In the end, it's all about sharing best practices, right? And I think with brands and retailers working with Loop, they also know that Loop is really collecting all of these insights and then nourishing its development and their development rooted in all of these insights, right? When we announced, when Tom Zaki, our founder, announced the launch of Loop in Davos 2 years ago, we had PepsiCo, we had so the CEO of PepsiCo, of P&G, and the president of Greenpeace that was there next to Tom, and who were, you know, I guess making a stance on how real that necessity for change was and how committed all of these partners were.
I think it's definitely something that resonates with me a lot, this idea about this is a collaborative effort. This is not about just pointing fingers at industry. This is also about obviously taking responsibility yourself, that you can do something. We all can chip in to break this old-fashioned, stupid, wasteful linear model. And I think you guys have found a very, very kind of bold, simple, collaborative solution to do so. And I'm sure that a lot of people in our community will be very inspired, and I'll also encourage them to go and check you guys out even more. Maybe if they are in your territory, go use the platform. Of obviously, if you are a partner, I'm sure they can reach out to you as well and join this effort, even though if they're not in one of the territories you are at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I just want to say thank you so much, Marc, for joining this. A big part of this award is obviously to shine a light on some of the exciting stuff that's happening out there. Goodvertising is a community for people working in business, in change, in advertising, and celebrating a lot of the great work that's going on there, and believing that, you know, our voice and our work matters. So thank you for being part of that. And obviously, for those of you who want to learn more, go and check out Loop. And obviously, you can share your work as well with our platform at goodvertising.com and be part of this journey towards change. So thank you all, and congratulations to Marc. Congratulations to Loop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas.